There's something morbidly fascinating about anyone who thinks they can commit murder and get away with it, but billionaire murderers often have a special sort of delusion to them. Maybe it's growing up spoiled, maybe it's coming into money and thinking you're special, or maybe it's just the assumption that everyone has a price, and if you get into trouble, you just need to find the right person to pay off. So in this video, we are going to tell you about the rich billionaire killer reacting to life sentence. The video is going to be amazing, so make sure you stick to the end. 5. Bernie Madoff. The disgraced financier Bernie Madoff has been sentenced to a maximum of 150 years in prison for masterminding a $65 billion fraud that wrecked the lives of thousands of investors. The U.S. District Judge Denny Chin described the fraud as staggering and said the breach of trust was massive and that a message was being sent by the sentence. The sentence, which means the 71-year-old fraudster will end his days in prison, was handed down at an emotional hearing in a lower Manhattan courtroom, where victims were given the chance to tell how the fraud had destroyed their livelihoods. Number 4. Ding Yuxin. Ding Yuxin, a female billionaire who gave bribes to a former railways minister, has been sentenced to 20 years in prison, fined 2.5 billion yuan, and had personal property worth 20 million yuan confiscated, a court in Beijing. The Beijing No. 2 Intermediate People's Court said the evidence collected by prosecutors that Ding offered bribes and conducted illegal operations is sufficient for a verdict. Ding, 59, also admitted to making 2 billion yuan in profits between 2004 and 2011. Number 3. VIKTOUR BOUT. When a Russian court sentenced U.S. basketball star Brittany Griner to 9 years in prison for possessing cannabis vape cartridges in her luggage, talk of a prisoner swap between the two countries intensified. Of the Russians held in the United States, by far the best known is a 55-year-old arms dealer who has spent the last decade in a federal prison in Illinois. Nicknamed the Merchant of Death, he was convicted in 2011 on charges that included conspiring to hurt Americans and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Number 2. Alan Stanford. The Texas financier heads to court in Houston to battle charges that he operated a $7 billion Ponzi scheme from Stanford International Bank-led, his offshore bank on the Caribbean island of Antigua. By all accounts, his was a life of luxury, filled with private jets, yachts, mansions, and the sport of cricket. Deemed a flight risk in June 2009 by a federal judge, the 6-foot billionaire has been in jail, sporting prison-issue green and orange jumpsuits and shackles instead of the dark, tailor-made suits he once ordered in bulk. Stanford, a native Texan who was knighted by the government of Antigua in 2006, is accused of misleading investors about certificates of deposit, CDs, issued by his offshore bank in one of the biggest white-collar fraud cases since Bernard Madoff. The CDs were touted as safe, with funds generally invested in investment-grade bonds, securities, and foreign currency deposit, according to literature distributed by Stanford's brokerage firm. Number 1. Ang Lap Seng. A U.S. court has convicted a Chinese billionaire of bribing 2 senior UN diplomats to help him gain backing for a conference center in Macau, a case that highlights the trading of cash for influence at the international body. Ang Lap Seng faces a possible prison sentence of more than 60 years after a federal court in New York City convicted him of 6 charges including bribery, money laundering, and corruption. Prosecutors said the bribes went to former UN General Assembly President and Antiguan diplomat John Ash, who in 2012 introduced a document at the UN in support of Mr. Ng's real estate project. Mr. Ash was charged in 2015 with taking $1.2 million in bribes from Mr. Ng, but months later was found dead in his home from injuries suffered when a barbell he was lifting from a bench dropped on his neck. Prosecutors accused Mr. Ng of paying bribes to gain UN endorsement for a project in the Chinese territory of Macau that he billed as the Geneva of Asia. Let us know your opinion in the comment section below. This was all for today. Hope you liked the video. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.